Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Confused and Confused 5. My 30 female fiance, 30 male, looked after another woman in front of my maid of honor, female 31. Maid of honor is disgusted by his look and tells me I should not marry him, but she remembers the situation totally differently. I, female 30, have been with my significant other, male 30, for 4 years. A very happy and drama-free relationship. There is a couple that we're good friends with, Vicky and Tom, both 31. Vicky is my childhood friend and Tom is my significant other's childhood friend, and they actually introduced us to each other. This is why Vicky will be my maid of honor and Tom will be my significant other's best man at our upcoming wedding in December. Ever since my significant other and I have been together, we went out for drinks, or dinners, or tennis, or in the last year, video chats with Vicky and Tom on a weekly basis, and I love these evenings. Vicky and Tom are so much fun to hang out with. Everyone likes them. We always have a great time. This year, the four of us went on a vacation together for the first time. We rented a house by the sea and spent a week there. It was great fun until the last evening. We went to a restaurant by the sea and there was this little pier leading up to the restaurant. We had a nice dinner and drank some wine. Now we head back to our vacation home, which is when the situation in question occurred. We are all on the pier and a woman is coming towards us from the other direction. At first I just saw her silhouette because the light was behind her, and then she stepped into the light. And I don't know how to say this without objectifying or sounding creepy, but she just looked stunning. Think Marilyn Monroe reincarnate, but with an even crazier waist to hip ratio. She honestly looked photoshopped. Easily the most beautiful human being I have ever seen. She looked out towards the sea with a cigarette in her hand, and there was such a melancholy air about the whole scene. It was like out of a movie. Anyway, when she is almost passing us, she suddenly looks at my significant other, who was nearest to her, in a super sexy sort of way. I don't know how to describe it, but she simultaneously blew out the smoke through her nose and then bit her lip while looking directly at him, and then she flicked the cigarette into the sea without even looking at it. I don't like people polluting the sea, but she just looked so cool doing it, lol. Sorry, I know I'm going into too much detail. Just know that she looked like straight out of a movie. So she passes us, and my significant other and I look at each other and his face says, "Oh my god, did you see that?" And I just mouth, "Wow." And as soon as she passed us, my significant other turns around and looks after her, for a long time. Basically, until she's in the restaurant. I made a bit of fun of him for looking after her so obviously, and that was that. Vicky made a comment right then and there how it's really uncomfortable to be stared at like that, which is totally true, of course, and I'm sorry for staring, but I just couldn't take my eyes off of her. Which doesn't make it okay, I know. For the rest of the evening, Vicky was standoffish, but I didn't know why. She didn't say anything. Then, the next day, she was even more so. I thought it was because the vacation was over and she had to get back to her stressful job the next day. A week goes by and I call up Vicky to ask if they want to hang out on the weekend. She tells me she is not sure if she wants to see my significant other because he behaved in such a disgusting way. I didn't know what she was talking about at first. Then she says I was there when he was catcalling after the woman on the pier. I am 100% sure he didn't catcall. I told her as much. She just scoffs and says, "Sure, honey." Then we kind of awkwardly hang up. Some days go by and Vicky texts me she would like to meet, just the two of us. We meet for drinks yesterday. She basically told me she couldn't be my maid of honor, because she cannot watch me marry such a disgusting man. I told her again that he didn't catcall, but she says that's beside the point. She also asked me if I'm not worried at all, marrying him, now that I know what his type really was. I told her that even I stared at the woman, and she's certainly not my type because I'm not into women. She was just stunningly beautiful. Vicky says that's different. I should have seen the look. Well, I didn't know what to say to that because I obviously didn't see it. I asked Vicky if she had a bad experience in a situation like that. I expected maybe the whole scene took her back to an uncomfortable situation she herself experienced, but she just waved it off. Said this wasn't about her, it was about him staring at younger women. Now, the woman wasn't particularly young. It's hard to guess her age because she was wearing a lot of makeup, but I would say she was at least in her late 20s. I'm just so confused. Did we experience the same situation? It's like Vicky saw it completely differently. When I got home, I told my significant other, and he was really surprised and told me that he didn't catcall and never would do something like that, and that he's sorry for staring at the woman, which is not even an issue for me. But now I'm thinking, should it be? He called Tom and asked his perspective, and Tom was totally surprised as well. Vicky made some comments, but he didn't know it was that big of a deal, and he didn't even know she doesn't want to be my maid of honor anymore. Which makes me think, maybe this is not so serious after all, or she would have told Tom about it? Anyway, I'm at a loss. Can one look really be so bad as to change one's opinion of another person? Is Vicky exaggerating, or am I not worried enough? May there be an underlying issue that I'm not seeing? Well, OP, it's kind of a strange situation. I mean, you were also in awe of the beauty of this woman, right? You were there and you didn't catcall. You weren't offended or felt insecure or anything like that by this woman doing that thing with the lip and all and your significant other looking at her. You looked at her as well. And the way you describe it, it does sound like some sort of quote-unquote breathtaking moment. You know, the ocean, the pier, the moon, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Now, she made a big deal to you about it and she said she can't be your maid of honor anymore, but her significant other didn't know anything? I find that as the weirdest piece of information in this whole thing. Regardless, OP, if her mind is made up and she doesn't want to be the maid of honor, then it sucks, but maybe you need to move on and find another one. Unfortunately, you can't make her be your maid of honor if she doesn't want to. Also, you need to decide if what she told you is enough to end the engagement and your relationship. I don't think so, but that's your decision. So what do you guys think is going on here? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Jay Tenka says, imagine being so attractive you've destroyed a person's marriage just by walking past and smoking a cigarette. The whole story sounds utterly insane. I can't believe there are actual humans that would end relationships over a single look. Sinister Dexter 83 says, quote, he's sorry for staring at the woman, which is not even an issue for me, but now I'm thinking it should be? End quote. This section was the saddest part of the post for me. Two people who clearly have a very healthy and happy relationship that is easily secure enough to handle one of them getting checked out by a stranger gets a toxic piece of insecurity injected into it by a so-called friend. OP, it's clear that you have a loving and trusting relationship. Don't let your friend's paranoia play on your mind. You're doing great as is. And OP responds, you're right, I shouldn't let this get to me. It was not an issue for me at all before she said something. Laddie Doddy says, I feel like Vicky must have something else going on that she is projecting onto your fiance. Her reaction to the whole incident seems pretty out of proportion to what actually happened. I mean, if your fiance really did catcall this woman right in front of you, I have no doubt you would have noticed and been a little annoyed. I wonder if Tom might have an insight into what might be going on. So sorry you're having to deal with this. And OP responds, when my fiance called Tom and asked about what was going on with Vicky, Tom barely remembered the incident at all and was completely surprised. Tom works out of town a lot, so it's possible they actually didn't see so much of each other in the whole week after our vacation, but it seems so weird Vicky would decide to not be my maid of honor without talking it over with Tom. Okay, so the community also think that this is kind of a weird situation. So before we move on with the update, let's take a look at a little bit more context that I got from other of OP's responses. More information from OP's comments. She is one of my best friends. Tom and Vicky are basically our neighbors, so we meet up at least once a week and text each other a lot, and I don't want this friendship to fall apart. This seems so out of character though. What she said about him looking at young women, plural, kind of caught me off guard. But in 4 years with him, this was honestly the first time I noticed him looking at another woman. And he was so obvious about it that I don't think he's doing this regularly. Vicky and Tom are not married, but I'm starting to think she might be jealous. although she and Tom are doing great as well. Maybe it's because we got engaged before them, even though they have been together for a longer time? That's maybe the only thing I can think of, that she'd like to be proposed as well? Thinking back, she was not that excited about us marrying from the get-go. Isn't it a bit soon? Stuff like that. Then she was super excited about being maid of honor. My significant other and Vicky always got along very well, so this came out of nowhere. They sometimes even meet without me and Tom, for tennis mostly. And they are really good friends, so I don't think she has a bias. This is so weird, it's a complete overreaction. I'm afraid we won't be able to hang out any longer if she insists my significant other is disgusting, and I'm really sad about that. But I guess I need another maid of honor. Sad face. If she doesn't want to be at our wedding, I don't want to make her uncomfortable on purpose. We have a very low-key wedding, and it's not like I need her to do any maid of honor duties or anything like that. I just wanted to have her by my side on the big day. We have been friends for 24 years, and this seems so ridiculous to end a friendship over, but I'd rather take some distance now if we can stay friends in the long run. So probably like most of us, OP is very confused about her friend Vicky's reaction to this whole thing as we've seen. So now let's move on to the update to see what OP ended up doing. Hello everyone, some time has gone by since my first post, and I wanted to let all the helpful commenters in my original post know how the situation unfolded. So first off, thanks for all of your insights. It made me think about my friendship with Vicky, and I realized that ever since I've been together with my significant other, Vicky and I have almost never seen each other one-on-one anymore. I thought about all the possible reasons for how Vicky acted that were brought up in the comments. Some of them seemed reasonable enough. Vicky's desires to be the first to marry, as she and Tom have been together longer. Being my maid of honor may have been too much for her. Possible jealousy issues between Vicky and Tom that I didn't see, especially because Tom is out of town a lot. Catcalling situation in Vicky's past. Maybe Vicky has a thing for my SO? This was brought up a couple of times and I found it pretty ridiculous at first, but I'll come to that later. Anyway, I decided to give Vicky another week to cool off. Then I met her for brunch and talked it all over with her one more time. Told her there was no catcalling and that I'm totally okay with my significant other looking after the occasional ghost of Marilyn Monroe. I also told her that if she didn't want to be my maid of honor anymore, that was totally fine, and I would love to have her at our wedding as a guest. She seemed really relieved at this last suggestion and told me she can't imagine being my maid of honor now. She can't forget the disgusting look on my significant other's face after all. But she would like to attend the wedding, which made me think, maybe she really wanted to get out of the maid of honor thing and was just grasping at straws and picking the first situation that presented itself for some sort of drama. So we parted on friendly terms, and I decided to spend more time with Vicky one-on-one without the guys. Maybe then she would open up more and tell me what the real problem was at some point. When I got home, however, my significant other says, "So I guess Vicky's not mad anymore." "Sure," I say. "How do you know?" Turns out, the minute Vicky left the restaurant, she already texted my significant other and asked him if he wanted to play tennis with her on Friday. Vicky and one of her colleagues have a weekly reservation at a tennis club, and whenever the colleague can't make it, Vicky asks my significant other. This happens about once a month, but it seemed weird to me. She thinks he's so disgusting, but she wants to play tennis with him? During the next few days, I was a bit torn. Was this Vicky's way of an olive branch, or was there something about the comments with Vicky having a thing for my significant other? A situation came to mind. When I was still single and Vicky wanted to set me up with my now significant other, she always went on and on about how handsome he was, etc. And said things like, "If I wasn't with Tom, I would totally date him." But I thought she just really wanted me to go on a date back then. Anyway, after another day of thinking, I asked my significant other if he thought it a possibility. He laughed it off at first. "So she never said anything?" I asked. "Never," he said. "Well, except for when we met, of course." Then, my significant other went on to tell me the real story about how Vicky and Tom met. Apparently, Tom and my significant other were at a bar. Vicky comes in and walks up to my significant other with a super cheesy pickup line, but he, who was in another relationship back then, introduced her to Tom and they hit it off right away. Now, this is not how Vicky tells it. I have listened to her version of events time and time again with different friends groups, and it's always a love at first sight sort of story. My significant other has been there with me sometimes, and I don't really understand why he never told me the real story, but then again, this was 7 years ago. My significant other also asked me if I wanted to go through Vicky's messages to him, that maybe I would pick up on something he didn't see. I did, but there really wasn't much there. Most of the messages were about tennis. Sometimes it felt like Vicky wanted to follow up on something the next day, like, "Thanks again for the match yesterday. By the way, the meeting went really well," or something like that. But my significant other is so bad at texting, and he just replied with a thumbs up, so there was never a real conversation going on. And then, a week before our vacation, she sent him a bikini picture. Now, to be clear, it was a picture of a bikini, not her in a bikini. The caption said, "Do you think I can wear this to water skiing?" My significant other replied with a thumbs up emoji once again. But I found it a bit weird that she didn't send it to our group chat. Also, in the corner of the picture, you could see a really sexy lingerie style bra lying next to the bikini. I don't know, the whole picture gave off a weird vibe. I already had, "Why would you send a picture of a bikini to my significant other?" typed out to Vicky, but then I decided to just let it go. I have a job and a wedding to plan and no time for drama. So I decided that even though I don't know what exactly Vicky's motives are, there is something fishy going on that I do not want to waste my energy on. So I will just let the friendship fade out. Even though I'm sad about it, I guess you can't keep all your childhood friends. I know this is not a very satisfying update and not very spectacular, but I decided to post it anyways. I guess the real reason for Vicky's reaction was probably a combination of wanting to marry and maybe liking my significant other a little too much because she's lonely when Tom is out of town? Anyway, she's certainly not being honest to me, and I'm so tired of all this high school crap. Well, OP, like you say, might not be a very spectacular update, but it was very satisfying to me. You did exactly what you had to do. You avoided getting sucked into this drama before your wedding. Of course, it sucks losing a friend, particularly one that's been with you for 24 years. But like you say, there is something going on, she's not being honest with you, and you just don't have the time to waste energy on this. So good for you, OP. I hope your wedding goes great, take care, and all the best to the both of you. Thanks for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.